Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Savvy, and welcome back to another Untitled Monthly Movie Show, the complicated title to the show where we just talk about films for the entire month, what we've been watching, whether it's films, TV shows, or just general film discussion. It's the the easy kind of chat about all that stuff. Today, I am joined by Tom and Jack. Hello, Tom and Jack. How are we doing today?
All good. Thanks, Tayte. Yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about the football. Because it will become a football stream and not a film stream. How are we doing, Jack, as well?
Like Palpatine, somehow I've returned. So unfortunately, you've had to put up with me. So
no worries. And of course, we want to create a discussion with as many people as possible. So please comment below with what you've watched this month, whether it is film, TV shows, whatever. Could be absolutely anything. It could be a fun kind of film-based YouTube video that you've been recommended and you want us to talk about it, or anything like that, anything film-based. There's going to be a few points of discussion today that we're going to go over. So please comment below with all those things. Also, follow us on our various different social medias. Just go to the Linktree thing down in the description. And the Redbubble link is in description as well if you want to buy a t-shirt, pillows, whatever, all of our Cinema Savvy stuff plastered over everything. So let's start the month. Usually we go around kind of and say what films everyone's watched and we kind of have a discussion about it. But I'm actually going to go straight in and I'm just going to say a topic that we need to discuss, because this month there's been a decent amount of film movie news. Certain films had moved from previous schedules and stuff like that. The film landscape is shaping its way with the various different strikes that are going or were going on. The WGA strike has officially ended, which is big news. The actors' strike is still going on, which, it's interesting. I haven't actually seen the negotiations. I haven't seen what they were able to negotiate, but I know that going into the final week, they were still hung up on the wording of it regarding the use of AI in writing. So I just want, before we go into kind of the other bits of news and stuff like that, your thoughts and opinions on, I guess, the two strikes that have happened so far. It's been probably the biggest film news this year that doesn't directly involve a single film. So yeah, Tom, if you want to just kind of give us your thoughts on the two strikes we've had.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my perspective, and I can only give my opinion and like a factual summary of it. So, I mean, I think it's fair enough that the strikes have happened. The talking point has been AI and its implementation. You saw that awful intro for Secret Invasion as just sort of the start of it. But I think it's a wider problem in pretty much every industry, and how essentially people's jobs are on the line because image rights can be taken just at a whim. You star in one film, you get put in another without consent or without, it's contractually obligated that your AI self is in another. But that's happening over all industries. You see automation happening everywhere, and potentially job losses that are abundant. I think AI is absolutely shocking and awful and should go away the way of NFTs and cryptocurrency, because personally, and this is no slight, well, I suppose a slight on tech bro sort of mentality of, this will solve all your problems. So I've seen a lot of, or I scroll through, and this is just a point in and of itself. I scroll through Instagram and stuff and see AI generated videos, and it's just lazy. It's so lazy. It's a massive problem.
But I guess you're scrolling and it's getting views. So
yeah,
it's working.
In terms of the writers and actors, though, I think I absolutely have massive sympathy for, because you're essentially putting work into a machine learning tool, which is essentially what it is. It's not AI, it's machine learning, so that it can generate images, scripts, stuff like that in the style of people. And the thing that, you know, is often forgotten, that if a writer, if that is used for writing or as a writing tool, people are still going to have to check it, and people are still going to have to essentially rewrite it. So just don't use, just cut that bit out and just have an actual because it's not. I always think it's not going to pick up the sort of nuances that writers can generate, or it's not going to have that human implementation or interaction. You know, I probably explained this incredibly awfully, but it's that human feel, if that makes any sense. That I think is has the potential to go the way of the dodo, which I don't want to happen.
Jack?
I just think there's a somewhat huge level of irony when how many films have we had where they make AI and it goes slightly pear-shaped? Like there's a level of like, you've got history of films telling you this is going to go wrong, and suddenly we're at this stage where it goes, it's going wrong, people don't like it. Only that. I think that, first of all, recently, because obviously Gareth Edwards has been going around doing stuff for the creator, I did see a post that was, he likened the use of AI in cinema to the creation of Jurassic Park. There was before and there was after. And I think that, I think Tom's absolutely right. The fact that you're taking away the human element of storytelling. And talking about like the Secret Invasion of it, I'm not sure if you guys remember, probably about 6 months ago, there was like a couple of days on Instagram where everyone was like, look at my AI created self, and you're like a Viking with a sword or whatever, or you're a robot boy, and that's wonderful. But then I remember, because I follow several like comic book artists on Instagram, they were like, do not post this. This is like ruining our jobs. This is taking jobs away. It is, again, it's without heart, without soul. It's taking away the time and effort that artists put into it. And the same is obviously true when it comes to films. If it gets to a point where people say, I want to see a murder mystery starring Laurence Olivier and Jack Black, and then someone goes, and it's out there for you to watch it, 5 hours later or whatever, or instantly, then that's not the film industry. It's this sort of automated machine. And I think from you talked about Secret Invasion. Speaking about the ownership of AI rights, you look at The Flash, like you look at that very, very poor George Reeves kind of image. Like where does that end? Like, obviously, it just, I think the ramifications of it are so terrifying that, is there a place where AI could be used? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I think that a little bit like, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Ahsoka, we were talking about the volume. Like, is there a way that there is a way to use this technology correctly? Possibly. Should it be used willy-nilly? Absolutely not. So, I think.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Jack. I was just going to say that there's now an AI tool that creates South Park episodes.
South Park did an episode.
I was about to say, it's the manatees, isn't it?
Well, South Park did an episode that they wrote using ChatGPT. And they did it as a statement. And South Park, I know a lot of people kind of disregard it as kind of the lowest level of humor and everything like that. And, it's fair. They do cross lines sometimes, and it is meant to be shocking. But the way they're able to do it, they're probably some of the smartest writers in Hollywood at the moment, because they take topical conversations and they simplify it, they make jokes about it, and they kind of, take the piss out of it. And they did an episode where it was written completely by ChatGPT, and it was clearly one of the worst of the season. And they actually made a point to kind of say, this is a bad episode. Like, you should see how bad the writing is. And they kind of looked at it and went, this is what the script would do. We'll just make this episode and we'll see how the people respond to it. And the people responded negatively, like it wasn't a very good episode and stuff like that. They just went, yeah, of course it wasn't, because we didn't write it, kind of thing. So I think it's very easy to define between kind of, what is good and what is bad using the technology and stuff like that. And I know that outside of film and stuff like that, there are ways that it can be used and it can be a good thing. But I feel like, and I'm a massive kind of awards head as far as films are concerned and stuff like that. It's never going to kind of get recognition for awards and anything like that. Actual writers will always get the recognition and stuff like that where it's merited and everything like that. It is nasty that it's creeping in. It's not the nicest thing, and I'm glad that they've been able to strike a deal that kind of deflects away from that and stuff like that. And they're able to because the other thing that they were looking for was getting kind of more money and more credit for their work on various different shows, people being brought in as writers for, say, for example, kind of write the script, and then they're not being invited onto set to actually kind of help make the show itself, and their script is being torn to shreds basically on set by studio executives and everything like that. So there's various different issues there. The actor strike is still going on, and this kind of links into, I guess, the biggest thing that's problem. Yeah, the same problem as well, like AI artists being replaced, and myself as a person who's been a background artist before, who's been in TV shows and films. It's horrifying to think that people could, pay you off one time for not even a lot of money, and then you're never used again. You're pretty much done. For people who aren't in the industry, they'd think, great, I'd sell my image rights and you can use me as much as possible. But I mean, if you watch, Black Mirror, Jonah's Awful, then you'd know straight away that that's just not a good thing at all. And various different TV shows and films are going to be exploring it. And I think AI is going to be used more as kind of a topic of conversation instead of actually being used going into the future.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I was just quickly going to. I think it was a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago. Did you ever watch the Corridor Digital AI generated anime style video?
I did,
and that was got so much backlash. But it goes to your point, Jack. Like this is all stuff that you're essentially putting examples of artist styles into a machine that generates from all those thousands and millions of images. So it's essentially the nuance behind the copyright issue is vast, and I'm sure that it is stealing other people's work to further your own sort of profit margin, I guess is one way of putting it. But I just can't fathom it. I'm sort of rambling a bit, but I
no, it's a massive. I mean, the last time we had actor strikes and writer strikes at the same time. How long ago was that? A long time ago. But it always causes chaos in the industry. I think as far as the writer strikes are concerned, the one that everyone goes to is Quantum of Solace, a film that I'm okay with, but that's the one that everyone seems to go to. And I don't know what effect it's going to have on the industry. I'm glad that the writers were able to get themselves a good deal. I hope the actors are able to do so the same. As far as kind of the immediate ramifications for the channel, some writers have actually announced themselves to be going to London Film Festival. So we'll be doing red carpet things for their films, which is fantastic. They're going to get their time in the sun, and hopefully we'll be able to get some interviews with them. And now that they're able to come back, talk shows will come back, and just various different things are going to get going again, which is good. And it's under better terms than what they were. Steadier ground.
I'm sure the studios will still find a way to exploit things.
Oh, 100%. I think there'll be another strike within the next 10 years for both actors and also writers, because the studios are greedy and they will try and, find a way around it so that they win, because it's like going to a casino. Casino always wins. The studios will always win when it comes
unless
to
you're George
things.
Clooney.
Yes. Exactly. I guess the biggest other bit of news is a bit of box office news for the month. So over the last month, Barbie became the highest grossing film of the year, outgrossing Super Mario Bros. I actually watched Barbie this month again. It's my first rewatch of the year. Fantastic film. Still liked it. And also Oppenheimer became Christopher Nolan's highest grossing film as well, which is it's so weird that those two films just kind of they jetted each other kind of up and everything like that. They are both films, both those films are early Oscar buzz going
Still
into.
haven't seen Oppenheimer.
Have you not? It's
No.
okay. It's one of those films where I don't wait until it comes onto home media. Try and find a cinema that's still showing it. I'm sure there'll be loads of kind of IMAX and 70mm kind of re-releases and various different things coming out soon. So I'd hold out for that instead of watching it as a home release, because you need the experience in a cinema on a big screen. That's my takeaway from it. I guess we'll start now by going into films for the month or various different things that people have watched. I've watched about 20 different things, so I don't mind going somewhere in the middle. Who wants to go first? Who hasn't seen a lot? We'll go with that. Whoever you are, there you go. Stand forward, Jack. Put your hand up and talk about what films and TV shows you've seen this month.
I have not been to the cinema since August, which is terrible for me. I'm sure it's heresy to say on this channel.
It's okay. I will point out as well, George had also not seen many this month. He'd only seen 5 films, one which he put a review out for yesterday. So go watch our review for The Creator, and I'll talk a little bit about The Creator today as well.
Yes, I'm due to see The Creator tomorrow. I should be seeing Haunting in Venice this evening, which is the melding of two wonderful cultures, the French and the Italian. So I can't wait for all sorts of interesting mustaches and hand gestures. Lovely. No, I haven't really seen that much. I mean, the other night I found myself watching both 21 and 22 Jump Street for the first time in ages. And I did start thinking about, man, I wish they had done that Men in Black crossover.
So I want to jump in here because
if you'll pardon the pun,
this was a topic of conversation over the last week. The Rolling Stones put out a horrifying list of, I don't know what they titled it. Was it the worst movie mistakes of all time or something along those lines?
Okay.
And so over the last year of the channel, we did the Spielberg retrospective, and we talked a bit about the Twilight Zone movie, where 3 people died, 2 kids died on set in the John Landis section of the film, which is still, I personally think, one of the most horrifying things in Hollywood, especially because he got away with it, basically. He didn't get charged for any of it and everything like that. That was rated only like 6th or 7th, and Phil Lord and Chris Miller not doing Star Wars a Star Wars story was rated higher. It was rated as mistake number 5 or something like that, which over 3 people dying, 2 of them being kids being decapitated. I feel like, maybe the Rolling Stones got that list wrong. And I know it's slightly off topic, but that's as soon as you said kind of 21, 22 Jump Street, it was like, oh, that's Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Oh God, the Rolling Stones article. That was another big thing this week. So please go check out that article and absolutely start a discussion about it, because that is one of the most horrifying film lists I've ever seen, especially for a major publication. But please continue.
I hadn't seen them in ages. I wanted something easy to watch. I had basically that boring when I'd finished a night shift off work, so my brain was a bit of mush. I was like, I need to watch something, and it just popped up when I was searching through Amazon. I forgot how funny they were. I forgot how, obviously, I remember them being very self-referential, but not quite as self-referential. Even in the second one, where Queen Latifah says, "Oh well, you know me, I'm straight out of Compton, but he's from Northridge," like talking about Ice Cube. I was like, "Oh yeah, very good." I do remember I think it was about 2015. It was all those leaked Sony emails about how we were going to be getting the Amazing Spider-Man 3 and Aunt May's super secret spy story, and one of the things in that email was a 23 Jump Street crossover with Men in Black, which I think could have been amazing, but unfortunately we ended up with Men in Black International. Or hell, even any of the 21 Jump Street they have in the credits as it is going down. This summer they're going to catering school or whatever, and it's Bill Hader there. Very, very good. I slightly different to films, but slightly connected to TV. I saw last Friday. I saw Auntie Donna's show at the Apollo, which was very, very funny. If you like that sort of zany, almost Monty Python-esque sketch comedy, all their stuff's on YouTube, or they did have
fantastic.
a Netflix show.
Yeah,
I laughed a lot. It's all very, very silly. If you like silly stuff and funny songs, I think they just finished their tour yesterday, and the show I went to was their biggest ever show that they've ever done. So that was a lot of fun. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing the creator. I think ever since I think even before I knew it was Gareth Edwards, I remember seeing a post for it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then obviously with the whole Rogue One of it all, it would be quite nice to see him going back to directing a project that he did start to finish, it seems.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for that. Obviously, we've got the film festival coming up, which will be very, very good. I need to basically sit down and make my list because I can't go to the whole thing, but I can go to the main chunk of it. But I'm looking for, at least I know on the Monday, I should hopefully be seeing Maestro and Horde, which I'm very, very much looking forward to doing. I'm gutted that I'm going to have to miss Killers of Flower Moon.
Yeah.
Because I'm working on that Saturday, which is terrible. But hopefully I will make up for it at the end by watching Dawn of the Nugget, which I've heard is basically Wakanda for Chicken Run.
Yes, I heard that quote being passed around, and I'm sadly not going to be able to see Dawn of the Nugget, but I guess it's going to be on Netflix later on.
I mean, can a chicken do that? I don't really know.
No idea. Should I go next, or do you want to go next, Tom?
I don't mind. I have been watching a amalgamation of Disney films recently, and also Harry Potter. In the wake,
so
not
all of the magical films.
Yeah, not in the wake of Michael Gambon's death. My watching of those has preceded that, but just coincided with parts or number 6, which was not great. So I have my history with Harry Potter. I sort of jumped off the books quite early, so I read number 3 and got bought 4 and 5, but never actually. I don't remember actually reading them. Similar situation with the films. When I was younger, I jumped off at number 4, didn't see number 5, didn't see number 6, didn't see part 7 part 1, and then went to the cinema to see 7 part 2.
So you must have been really confused.
I was like, what's
whoa.
Who's going on? It was very jarring. I am all caught up now. I have yet to watch 7 part 2 again. If I was to pick my favorite, it would 100% still be number 3. I think followed by number 6. I hadn't seen it before, but I really, really, really enjoy number 6.
And do you know what? Here's the thing. Not many people like 6, but I'm going to be perfectly honest. That would also be my ranking. I'd go 3, then 6. And I don't know if it's a controversial opinion. I just love Alfonso Cuarón. I love the fact that he was able to actually bring characters out of the actors, if that makes sense. He was actually.
You're telling me that Gilderoy Lockhart does not have any character
from the main cast. I thought you were a student of the. You're gonna hate this. I love Gilderoy Lockhart. I think 2 is one of the weakest films. His face. I think 6 is one of the strongest. I genuinely think that 6 is probably the strongest out of the later films. It takes a darker tone and it sticks to the darker tone from the very start, and I like that. It probably has kind of the best kind of setup for a finale that I've seen from various other films and stuff like that. It really kind of puts the stakes right, without using kind of the obvious referential. It's like The Empire Strikes Back of the Harry Potter universe, but it's a good film, and I like 3 as well. But Jack, I'm sorry, but 2, apart from good, he carries that film. He carries that film.
Yeah, I would say. sorry, Jack. Carry on.
I was just going to say, you're telling me that you don't like Draco Malfoy calling Potter a scarhead like it's some sort of racial slur amusing. I was training for the ballet, Potter. He scootles along. I just can't.
One of my issues, and I talked to my partner about this as well, that I find like the first 2 really pristine and too like tidy. Because like when I was like, I'm sure when everyone else was at school, they had their shirts untucked and ties not done up correctly, and constantly got told, "Do your tie up properly, do this, do that." It just that they're just so like prim and proper in the first 2, and then number 3 are just they all dress themselves, and it actually looks like a school.
Well, yeah, I mean, Hermione wears hers almost immaculate. Harry wears his kind of half messy, half not messy, and then Ron is just clearly dressed himself. And it's that whole thing, and I love going back to it. That Alfonso Cuarón made them all do, essays on their characters. Harry did his to a page, or Daniel Radcliffe did his to a page, and then Hermione's was, a full-on essay, and then good old Ron wrote nothing and just said, "Yeah, I couldn't be asked." It epitomizes all 3 of the characters, and that I feel like that film made the franchise what it was, as far as kind of films.
Okay, so if I was to put them in the ones that I have currently watched as of my marathon, excluding part 7, I keep calling it part 7-2.
7 part 2.
Part 2.
Hold on. I'm going to write mine down as well. I need to write it down on paper, otherwise I will not have a good order here.
Number 1, the best one. Number 3.
Yep.
Then number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Then number 4. I would say. I would also go 7, 2, 5, 1. I thought number 5 was really messy, like a really messy movie.
People are gonna hate me for my ranking. I follow you pretty much from the start. I go 3, 6, 4, 7 part 1, 7 part 2, 5, 2, 1. And saying the first film is the worst one, that's purely because it captures the magic. It's a kids' film, but the franchise does get better. And there's nothing wrong with saying the franchise gets better and saying, because the first one isn't a bad film. It's not a bad film. It's a magical film. It captures you in straight away. It's got beautiful set design, has some fantastic acting from young actors. But the films get better as it goes along. And I don't know if that's just a story-making perspective or the sets get more elaborate and they add more budget in and stuff like that. But it becomes more magical as it goes along. So that's why I'm kind of putting 1 and 2 near the back end, purely because they were still trying to find their feet. And 3 is, I'm not going to use, I'm going to use Goldfinger as the example. 3 is the Goldfinger of this franchise. It sets it up. It kind of pushes it on further. And then in that middle chunk, it kind of mixes around with different ideas and various different things. That's my ranking right there. You can have that on record.
Go on, Jack. What's your number 2? Is
he's seething. He's seething right now.
Definitely top of the list.
I will be honest. I generally think I need to, and it's the time of year to do it. I need to go through them again, because what tends to happen is I'll be around someone's house and they'll be like, "Oh, we're going to watch Harry Potter." And it's like, cool. And then I watch the first one. Like, that's great, and love the bowl cut, Daniel. And then you go to number 2, and I have a whale of a time. And then I go, bye. And then I leave. And then so it's very short marathon.
Why do you leave at 3? What's going on? That's like the best.
I like 3. I think 3, 3
Okay.
is the one that, it does get darker and everyone's got moody hair, and that's wonderful. 4, I think, is a very entertaining film. However, Tate, you've heard me have a minor rant about it, which I won't go into.
Yep, I have heard.
It's largely about the it's a very good film, but the world is completely insane, and that's fine. I mean, you only have to look at having everyone's effectively got a gun in terms of their magical wands, and the stairs are moving all the time, and all the stuff everybody's heard before. But yeah, the kind of like Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, like that kind of back third, I don't really remember that well. So I need to do it, and I'm sure my partner will make me sit down and watch them appropriately.
Yes,
and
she will.
Yeah, like I find it really funny because I'd love to imagine an Ofsted inspector coming to Hogwarts and just as soon as they get to the gate, they're like, no.
If you've has anyone here seen the Key and Peele sketch about the wizard school? Where was it, in like the Bronx or something like that? Like it's inner city wizard school, and yeah,
very amusing.
I'll have to find that out.
Yeah, 100%. Had you seen anything else this month other than the magic that is the Harry Potter franchise?
I'd also been going through the magic of the original Disney films.
Okay.
So I'm only 2 in at the moment. So I'm doing them in release order. So started with Snow White, moved to Pinocchio. God, then I've forgotten what comes after that.
Is it Free Calabros?
Yes, that's it. Although that's
I don't know why. Okay, I feel like that's probably a quiz question or something like that. But I don't know why I know that was the third film in Disney's canon, or is one of the it's not Free? Is it Free Calabros or Free?
Oh no, it's Fantasia next, and then
it's Fantasia. Then it's
Saludos Amigos.
That's the one. Yeah.
So I didn't even know those existed. If I'm being completely honest. So I've gone through gone through Snow White and Pinocchio. I'm gonna maybe piss somebody off royally here. Snow White, boring as fuck, so dull. So I spend.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but one thing I will say was I never liked it as a kid because it didn't engage me. So
they spend half the film like really making dinner and cooking and cleaning the house. There's nothing happens.
Clearly trying to indoctrinate the children watching it to start cleaning and do that.
Yes. If you are a girl, this is what you need to do for the men in your life. Clean and cook for them.
It was a different time back then, guys.
Yes, that is true. But you can also say that is completely just daft.
Yeah. And it's a shame when you look back on films like that, and it's being heralded, it's being re-shown in cinemas this month because of Disney's 100 years. So a bunch of classic Disney films are being re-shown in cinemas, and it's a shame if you get a film like that where, it's not like, it's not ridiculously. I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm not saying it's like, oh, they made like racist statements and stuff like that, like Dumbo and stuff like that, where they have racist caricatures and everything like that.
Yeah, it's not Song of the South.
No, it's not Song of the South.
Mercifully.
It's definitely not Song of the South. But it's
one of the things that one of the things that I was going to sort of jump in and say is that what you really need for films of that era, and this is just a topic in another topic altogether, is a sort of disclaimer at the start to say that the views of yesteryear are not shared with in today, and that this film may depict outdated beliefs and stuff like that. That's all you need. It doesn't hinder your experience or enjoyment of it. You can still enjoy it just with that, so that other people, if they don't like the topics or the subject matter it discusses or at least shows, I'm talking like it's a thesis or an essay, depicts, if it depicts some very, 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 you could add very infinitely questionable depictions of people. I think that's all you need to If you don't want to watch it, that's absolutely fine. So then I watched Pinocchio, right? And the jump in quality is obviously there's a 3-year gap, so it's 1937, then 1940. But the jump in quality and animation is just infinitely better. So much better. Pinocchio was I loved watching Pinocchio. Besides the casual bit of racism in the middle of it, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought this is this actually has a story. It has a point. They're not at the forefront, but Geppetto being someone that never really had a son, that creates his own son, surrogate, and it's essentially his story of finding his a child that the child that he never had. And you can read into the film that way, or just watch it as a merry time. I thought it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it.
We had the year of Pinocchios last year, didn't we? We had the Pauly Shore Russian weird Pinocchio, which only a few people know about, but yeah, that exists. We had the god awful Tom Hanks, and his name is ever going to be attached, like forever going to be attached to that film, Pinocchio film. Then we had Guillermo del Toro's one, which people were kind of regarding as should be nominated for Best Picture kind of levels of animation and stuff like that. It's fascinating because like I went back and watched Pinocchio before going into and seeing the new Pinocchio films, and yeah, you can tell that even back then the animation is fantastic for its time. The storytelling is also quite good for its time, and kind of the way they're able to kind of put the story onto the pictures and everything like that. It's great. Excuse kind of some parts in the middle, and like you said, I think it's really fascinating. We should probably have, for a lot of films, that little kind of thing that says, "Hey, these were the kind of these were the thoughts of the time. These were kind of what people believed back then, or at least these were kind of the opinions of the time."
Yeah, I can just see sort of conservatives and right wingers jumping on board and go,
I mean, like, do we really want to kind of do we want to lend them an olive branch there, or do we want to just kind of put the thing up there and just say, hey, this is how it is, kind of?
Yeah.
That's yeah. Anything else?
I also
your Disneyfied month.
Yeah, it's been sort of a Disneyfied month, and it's been a magical month, I suppose. I also started watching over the course of the last few days the original 3 Pirates of the Caribbean. First one still the best one. I think is a fantastic film, and I've actually come around on 2. I haven't yet watched 3 as of today, but I've really come around on 2. I thought it was really, really quite shit when I first saw it. But
I like 2. I think two. One sets up the universe very well. 2 expands the universe very well on top of it, and the introduction of Davy Jones into, I think, I scenes in 1 I prefer, but I think I prefer 2 as a film. 3, I think it dips slightly in quality, but at the same time, it's still a good conclusion, should we say, to that kind of franchise and stuff like that. But yeah, I know that it continued on, but for me, it ended at 3.
And I was sort of reading as well. So I used to follow quite rigorously Mark Kermode and his channel or his program on
with
BBC
Simon
Radio
Mayo.
With Simon Mayo, yeah, and they've now subsequently got a channel or podcast separately from that as they since left, and I've sort of dipped off his reviews a little bit. But one of the things that I was looking back on was his opinions of Pirates of the Caribbean, specifically number 2, and how awful he thought it was. And that I think one of the things that I've thought about is that there is absolutely things to like in things that you don't think are very good. Like there is always something that you can find quite positive. And I suppose I'm talking about this sort of from a more personal perspective, because during that period of time, I was a very, I was very much the case of everything's shit, and why is this and all that, and being sort of a film hipster, I guess, and not liking anything. And I think those opinions sort of fed into that and sort of warped my opinions throughout uni and or college and throughout uni. And that it's the best thing with age, you sort of mellow out. And I definitely think that there are things to like in films that you don't think are very good, and you should always try and find the positives, unless it's something absolutely abhorrent or there is no saving grace in it at all. But there's always something to like. So I've sort of made an effort to try and do that recently with things I've watched. But I suppose I'm this is a point of sort of personal opinion changing over time, and mellowing out, which I think is always a good thing, and that you should always refresh your ideas, your opinions.
I call it my Crimson Peak. Hated the film on first release, watched it again and liked it. I'm probably going to watch it again coming Halloween, and I guess it ties into one of the films that I'm going to talk about in a bit. Thank you for that. I'm just going to bring up a comment very quickly. Carl, apologies for missing talking about it earlier. What did everyone think of Past Lives? Haven't seen it. It's on my list to watch. When I go up to London for the film festival, most of the films that are showing in the festival are going to be during the morning or at least the mid-afternoon. So I will have time to go and possibly see Past Lives. I'm also thinking about going and seeing Stop Making Sense, the 4K kind of IMAX re-release of the concert film by the Talking Heads. I'm not even a big Talking Heads fan. I just heard that it's one of the best concert films of all time. And I know that Taylor Swift is going to be making her billions next year or this year of her own concert film. So I may as well go and see the best one first before I can compare it up against something brand new coming out.
I'm probably going to go to the Talking Heads one. I love Talking Heads.
Yeah, they're showing it in the Prince Charles. They're showing it in. I know, that's why I might go for that. Although there are videos online, and I don't know how I feel about this. I know of some Talking Heads songs. I recognize their songs if they come on. I recognize what's his face, David Byrne. Is it David Byrne? Yeah, David Byrne's voice and stuff like that. But I've seen clips that they've been putting out of people. They don't sit down in their seats. People are literally just getting up in the aisles and just dancing along to the film. So I'm going in there as like, oh yes, kind of stern. I just want to watch this for the kind of whole watching the film thing of it. And people are just don't care about the seats, just dancing along to kind of what's going on the screen. So I don't know what experience I'm going to get from it. It's going to be really weird. Me just sat back in my seat going, yes. Good piece of cinema, and everyone else just kind of having a whale of a time with it.
So it's like the Mamma Mia.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a Mamma Mia sing along, isn't it?
Yeah. The only other concert film I've ever seen is the Metallica one. Some Kind of Monster. Years. Yeah. No, it's not. Like I and this also stems true from my opinion of music. I wasn't really a big Metallica fan in yonder year, but I've come around on them. They're all right. I just had no time for the film back then. Maybe it's something to go and rewatch and be like, okay.
Yes, so that's going to be what's coming up. I'll talk about the films that I've seen this month because it's a bit of a weird kind of mixing thing. I'm going to skip over a few just because we've talked about those on review already. So it does make sense for me to kind of say, yes, I watched how many Fincher films this month? Here we go. I watched The Game. I watched Panic Room. I watched Zodiac. And then we've got reviews coming out for both Benjamin Button and The Social Network. In fact, after this recording, I'm going to go and record a solo Benjamin Button review. So there's something for the future. And I guess Benjamin Button, the only thing I'm going to say, which is kind of a little teaser for the review, didn't like it on the first time of watching. Very much liked it on the second time watching. I really respect this film now. I really liked it. So that's all to come in the review.
I think I might be the opposite. I liked it when I first saw it.
You hated it second time.
I haven't rewatched it, but I think
Okay.
I might be switching.
I don't know. I really liked it second time watching, and I'll say the film that I could compare it to in a weird way is Fabelmans. I got very Fabelmans vibes off it, as far as the storytelling kind of technique and kind of the passages of time and everything like that. I know it's a very different film, but it's somewhere between, I'd say, the Fabelmans and like the Time Traveler's Wife, with the two ages disappearing off in different directions. Other films I saw this month, I'll go through a couple of rewatches that I did. So I rewatched Last Night in Soho, as it's been recommended to me a few times now. Saw it at the film festival a few years ago. Really liked it once again. I don't think it's one of Edgar Wright's best, but I can kind of see the appeal of it, and I enjoyed it as a film. Rewatched Edge of Tomorrow because it came onto Netflix, and I was bored, and I was like, hey, I've got 2 hours to spare. I can go through Edge of Tomorrow, which is, once again, fantastic film. Really enjoyed it. Still got the it's going to be coming out, don't know when, but whenever kind of Tom Cruise is ready to go and do the sequel for that and call it Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Overmorrow, whatever he wants to call it. So that was an interesting rewatch. Rewatched Airplane, just because funny film. Rewatched Barbie because it made $1 billion, so it needed to be rewatched. And then apart from that, no, we go on to and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, because they've got the animated thing coming out next month. So I wanted to.
Very good.
Yes, very good film. A few Edgar Wright films thrown in there, but a very, very good month. Oh, and I also watched Fight Club, another Fincher film. I just saw that.
What's okay? Question.
Yeah.
Besides, actually, 2 questions.
Go on.
Besides Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which we'll see the review later in the week or next week or something. What's been your favourite Fincher film?
What's been my favourite Fincher film? Social Network.
Okay.
And I've been kind of hinting at that throughout the entire kind of retrospective as we're going through, building up to Social Network. But it's not just my favourite Fincher film; it's his best Fincher film. It's just undeniably his best film. And do you know what? The Zodiac review was fascinating.
Zodiac.
The Zodiac review is fascinating because people are cluing on to Zodiac now, and I think most people go between 4 films being his best film, whether it's Fight Club, Seven, Zodiac, or Social Network. I don't see many people saying any of the films outside of that.
Oh, what? No one says Alien 3's their favourite film.
I liked the assembly cut. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Nobody mentioned Seven.
Yeah, I said Seven. Yeah.
Good.
Also, sorry, another question. Sorry, I've forgotten what it was.
I mean, I've got Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I haven't seen before, and then Gone Girl coming up next as far as the Finchers watching. So those will be on next week's monthly.
Sorry, Tate. You have to remind who did. So you watched Fincher and also somebody else. Edgar Wright. That was it.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright film.
Favorite Edgar Wright film. I want to say Scott Pilgrim, even though I know it's not his best. I really enjoyed Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim. In fact, I'm a big Shaun of the Dead fan. So I'd say that over Hot Fuzz. I know Hot Fuzz is more quotable, but I really enjoy the parody on the horror genre. I think it's a better film.
Yeah, I'd say Shaun of the Dead is my personal favourite.
Go on, Jack.
I'm probably torn between Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim. I really enjoy Scott Pilgrim, but I think this isn't to say it's a bad film. It's because it's not an original. Obviously, it's based on the comic book. I think. And obviously, I love what he did in terms of the design and sort of the video game aspect to it. But I really like Hot Fuzz. It's very, very good. It's very, very witty. I do remember it came out in 2007, I believe. And I think 2007?
2010. 2010. Scott
Did it
Pilgrim.
really?
Oh, no, Hot Fuzz 2007, Scott Pilgrim 2010, sorry. Yeah.
I just remember... I think it might have even been on like Jonathan Ross or Graham Norton or something, and they were talking about it, and they kept talking about the Battle of Summerfield. And I was like, "Ooh, that's a shop down the road. It can't be the same one." And then I saw it in the cinema. I was like, "Oh no, it's a battle in the supermarket." Cool.
It's fantastic comedy film. I may watch it on my next month. I need to throw in a few comedy films. I'm going to be watching a lot of heavy dramas at the film festival.
It does just make you think that what we could have had Edgar Wright stayed on Ant-Man.
Yeah, I know. But that's not as bad as a mistake as apparently taking off Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Anyway, one singular film from the past, which was a new watch for me. Two. I watched Free Fire for the first time. I know that Ben Wheatley this month put out the masterpiece that was, or last month, The Meg 2, which I still can't believe he directed that film. I'm really confused by it. I have a kind of interesting relationship with Ben Wheatley. I don't like his film, but I like the idea behind his films. So High Rise for me was one of the biggest disappointments when it was released, because it looked like it was going to be fantastic and it just wasn't. And Free Fire, once again, it was like, oh, this film looks fun and kooky, and it was okay. It was okay. It was good for what it was. It went on for a bit too long, and I didn't like the fact that, it kind of lengthened its film length just based on, circumstance instead of it actually making sense. It's all set in one warehouse, and I think the first time someone leaves the room is like an hour 10 in, and it's like, Jesus, come on. Like, someone's got to have tried to leave the room at that point, realistically. So yeah, that was interesting. My favorite watch of the month, though, outside of watching The Social Network, was Before Sunrise. First time I watched that film. I loved this film. I really like this film. I know Linklater's got a film at the festival, which sadly I won't be able to see because it's already shown before the festival even started. But this is a classic, and I know I've known of its existence before. I've always wanted to see it. I'd seen clips from it before, but I didn't realize how good it was as far as writing, storytelling, and how to build kind of a good relationship on screen. And I will probably watch, what's it called, Before Sunset, and also Before Midnight by the end of next month, just to complete the trilogy and kind of see how he develops these two characters, which I absolutely fell in love with. Really good performances in that film as well. Have either of you seen it at all? Or?
No, they are on my list.
I would highly recommend it. It's kind of a romance drama that is just purely how to build a relationship, how to show two people kind of beginning to like each other. It's really, really well done. Then we have some kind of new releases from this year, a few ones which are available now, actually. So Champions, which was the basketball film about people with special needs, which is a really fun kind of, think old school kind of sports US drama with, some comedy thrown in. Really fun performances, really, really fun film, which I recommend people to go and watch. I watched all 4 of Wes Anderson's new short films on Netflix. So The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, Ratcatcher, Poison, and The Swan. I'd recommend all of them. You could probably watch them all in the space of 2 hours. Really good performances in those as well. Really unusual way of storytelling. A very Wes Anderson way of storytelling, because the characters are not just kind of the characters in the film, but they're also the narrator. So, or they give kind of stage directions and really weird kind of as if you're reading it from a book. So one of the characters would go kind of, he's having this conversation with people, and then he goes and actually has the conversation with the people. And every now and then he would go, I don't know, I'm here for the money, he said. And he turns to the camera and says, he said, and then switches back again really quickly. It's a really unique style of storytelling. It's very Wes Anderson. It's very quaint and British and weird. And I enjoyed it very much.
How symmetrical is everything?
It's pristine.
Thank God.
It is the most beautiful kind of Wes Anderson. I personally think that some of these are better than kind of some of his more recent work. Just because it's a shorter format and, he gets the message out straight away. But best performances, I'd say Rupert Friend was fantastic in it. I'd say that Benedict Cumberbatch was good in them as well, and Ralph Fiennes and Dev Patel. That's pretty much the whole cast. Ben Kingsley was also in there. There you go. I've named all 5 characters in all of the 4 short stories. But no, really, really good. Really nice and kind of, condensed down, if you want. Nice short Roald Dahl short stories told by Wes Anderson, who does those things best. Second to last thing I'm going to talk about is a film called Accused. which is by the same makers of the film Boiling Point. Really nice high tension drama, a bit like Panic Room. Person is accused of being a basically there's a bombing in London on a train, and he happens to be at the train station at the same time. He gets accused online of being the bomber, and then people basically go and invade his house, kind of, you know, your kind of keyboard warrior, kind of far right wing, kind of get those people out of our country types, go and basically find out all of his information, go to his house and basically try and beat him up, basically. It's a kind of locked in house drama where he's basically being chased around the house by these two people whilst kind of trying to stay alive and trying to plead his innocence at the same time. It talks about Twitter culture. It talks about kind of, you know, the kind of internet kind of think tank cultures behind, you know, the Boston bombings and stuff like that, where, you know, what was it, 4chan or Reddit tried to find the Boston bombers and found the wrong people and tried to accuse the wrong people of it. It's a very interesting drama based around kind of that concept of kind of, you know, people on Twitter say things and then it's taken out of context and then suddenly it gets blown up and then suddenly the wrong information is being passed around and people can be accused of these things. Talks about kind of British racism, kind of post-Brexit Britain and stuff like that in a very interesting way. It's on Netflix. It's about an hour and a half. I would highly recommend it, especially because Boiling Point, the film that kind of put these people on the map, these filmmakers, is coming out as a TV show today, which was a fantastic film last year. It's going to be on BBC One tonight. So I'd also recommend that on top of that. We got to talk about kind of the biggest film of the month, the title sake of not even title sake of this video, but the image that I've got up on the screen right there. The Creator. Myself and George, we got press screenings for The Creator. So we went up to London this week to the BFI IMAX. We got these very nice cards that gave us access to the event. There was I know there was a Q&A afterwards with Gareth Edwards, but sadly I had to get back due to late trains and stuff like that. George has already done a review on the channel about The Creator. He's done 2 reviews. In fact, there's a spoiler-free and a spoiler-filled one. So I'll only just give my very brief, honest opinions without spoiling anything with the film. I went into it expecting a kind of high-stakes action drama. I came away from it with it being more of a kind of, it's got action in the film, but it's more of a kind of philosophical religious debate and a debate about kind of the use of AI and various different things like that. It's not the film that was advertised. That's all I'm going to say. And some people are enjoying it because it's kind of new concept sci-fi. It does stuff that other sci-fi films haven't done before. It's gorgeous. It's a really, really pretty film. But other people wanted boom, boom action. People were expecting Edge of Tomorrow. In fact, we got kind of, I don't even know what a film I would kind of compare it to. Like kind of the second half of Cloud Atlas I'd compare it to. It's kind of high concept, kind of religion, kind of the birthing of a god, kind of, you know, areas of sci-fi. So it's an interesting film. I quite liked it, but I know other people didn't like it. And one of my mates, my best mate, in fact, and he'd be remiss if I didn't mention it, sent me a message which simply put the Creator's Rotten Tomatoes scores with audience and critics alongside Saw X's scores with audience and critics. And Saw X is currently getting the highest ratings the franchise has ever had and higher scores than The Creator. I haven't seen Saw X. I have no intention of seeing Saw X, but it's very interesting that that film was getting overwhelmingly positive responses and this one is getting very mixed responses. I would recommend it, but people feel like they've been misadvertised by the film. So it's very interesting. If no one has anything else to kind of say, any final thoughts on any of the films I've seen this month or any other discussions that you want to just bring up before the stream finishes?
Anything, Jack?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing The Creator. I'm looking forward to London Film Festival. And I'm looking forward to the Edge of Tomorrow sequel, Edge of the Day After Tomorrow. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And later on today, I'm going to be recording it, and the schedule for it I don't have in front of me, which is silly of me, how remiss of me in itself. We'll be recording Benjamin Button, and we'll be releasing Benjamin Button later on this week. We also have reviews coming out soon for The Social Network. We also have reviews coming out for London Film Festival. We have a lot of stuff going on. So please make sure you follow us on our social medias and comment with what you've watched below with various different things. You can go onto the Linktree thing in the description. That takes you to our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook, everything that we announce videos with. And we've got a lot of content coming out, an awful lot of content coming out. Variety of Fincher things still going with our Fincher retrospective. We've got Ahsoka, the finale, coming out very soon as well, where we'll go over our discussions of the entire show in general, and kind of see where that leaves the state of Star Wars going into the next year. We've got London Film Festival, which is going to be massive this year. I'm going to be seeing more films I've ever seen, probably in a week before. It's going to be absolutely mental. And other new releases coming out, which we're going to be keeping up with. So please find us on those social medias and come below with anything that you've watched and kind of have recommendations for what we should watch, including Past Lives, which I'm now going to try and find tickets for. Anyway, before we go, Tom, would you like to plug anything at the moment this is going on with you?
Not really. Follow me on Twitter at Tom is Musing. I don't rarely use X. Rarely use X now.
Ooh.
But yeah, you can find me on there or Letterboxd at Films and Beer, just to keep up to date. You know, I actually rarely use social media now, if I'm honest, in a sort of in a context of like this. I like message people on Facebook, and that's about it.
Yeah,
it's very.
That's fair.
Haven't been up to my Films and Beer thing is sort of dead and defunct in the water now. So the less said, the better.
Fair enough. Anyway, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jack, for coming on board for this Sunday morning chat about film. We will see you in the next video and in the next month of this Untitled Movie Show. Thank you and goodbye.